Yeah, very good evening, everybody. I introduce the guest that we have with us, ranked one of the top 4 cyber lawyers in India and the world, one of the most foremost authorities in cyber law and data protection in the world again, authored more than 180 books, having 2 decades of experience. We welcome advocate also in the Supreme Court, Dr. Pavan Duggal. Dr. Duggal, it's a pleasure to be here with you and to really try and understand where AI is going. So my first question is really going to be, of course, the legal challenges that lie ahead, but also AI as something that is being misused, whether it's actor Katrina Kaif or Ritika Madan and the deepfake technology that misused their images and crossed private boundaries, whether it's the impersonation or the facial voice synthesis or the face mapping that's wrongly being done. What are the legal challenges that lie ahead when it comes to the misuse of AI? And is India fine, and can it go ahead with the legal framework that it has today to look at them?
Thank you. I believe artificial intelligence is already the center stage element in our lives. We are enamored by AI, but we are all still using AI as an experimentation tool. But without doing that, we have also started realizing that this has become your life companion. Recently, a survey has come which said that a typical American only has 3 close friends, and therefore they're going more in the direction of adopting AI as a lifelong friend. I think I see the replication of that trend in the Indian context. But while AI is phenomenal in terms of the benefits, the products, and the elements it brings across, AI is also an impending danger. It's a time bomb that's kicking. Why? Because it brings along with it large number of legal, policy, and regulatory issues. And I think these issues is something that we, as users of AI, must know about. Why? Because we should not be in the traditional mindset, okay, this is the new magical solution to all my problems, and I can continue to keep on using it. Why? Because AI, as its intrinsic algorithm, is something that humans are not much experienced with. And while we have developed these algorithms are continuing to quietly grow. Already, I believe that even the current level of AI, a primitive level of consciousness has started evolving in AI.
Right.
This consciousness is going to get even more bigger when we go towards artificial general intelligence and ultimately superintelligence. So in a scenario, AI brings across huge legal challenges. Not only its hallucination, but also issues pertaining to violation and continuous violation of human privacy, personal privacy and data privacy. It is today a fantastic tool in the hands of cyber criminals to go ahead and perpetuate new cyber crimes. No wonder cybercrime as a service powered by artificial intelligence has become the new norm, the new motto on the dark net. We also now see that AI today is increasingly now coming to the capacity of causing harm to humans. And once this harm is coming across, you have to face some fundamental legal questions. Is AI legal? Can we grant legal status or a legal personhood to AI? If we can, then how do we deal with the entire issue of accountability of AI? How do we ensure the legal parameters for determining legal liability of AI? And supposing AI gives some harm to you and me, what will be the basis of calculating the particular damage or even giving monies? And finally, can I actually punish AI? Can I send AI to jail?
Exactly.
Surely I can't. Can I dismantle AI? Maybe yes, but that's not a permanent solution because AI might go ahead and reproduce itself. So it's a different ball game altogether. We will have to come up with legal frameworks.
Yes.
Globally, there's a complete policy vacuum.
Which I will come to, but I also want to tell everybody here about certain high-profile cases that have been fought by you, and one which is very interesting, where an 11th standard student, I know, actually tried to demonize with the help of AI his own parents. Please take us through this case, and what this really shows us is the character of AI as being intimidating and also being rogue. Is AI now turning rogue?
Well, the other day, 2 people, a couple came to come and see me, husband and wife, and they said they were coming to see me given my work in AI law after visiting 4 psychiatrists. As a lawyer, I was zapped. I said, 4 psychiatrists and then me? What's the matter? And the matter was pretty unique. They have one son who's in class 11th. For whatever reason, the son has come to the conclusion that 2 of his worst enemies in the world are his father and mother.
My gosh.
And consequently, every day he's going to AI, asking for new mechanisms, new strategies to demolish his parents emotionally, socially, reputationally, and economically. The parents are sick and tired. They've tried counseling. The counseling doesn't work. They came to me and said, can we actually get an injunction against AI? Please stop misguiding my son. Well, I said, it's a very interesting proposition. The only thing is that the law is not yet developed in that regard. And assuming if the law was even developed, what kind of injunction can be given against AI? For that, it's imperative that AI must be recognized as a legal entity, which currently no law in the world is doing so. And assuming you get this injunction against one AI, there's nothing stopping your son to go and visit other AI platforms, ask the same programs. Yes, these AI guys have done some guardrails, good work, but then they have not really thought of the human mind.
Hence, what do we do in such cases? I also want to put in another question here, warfare. When it comes to weaponizing AI as a means of warfare, especially in conflict zones, and also when it comes to cross-border jurisdiction, there's a conflict there. How, and have you worked with the Defense Ministry? And also, how do we look at AI and what are the challenges India faces there?
I think the advent of AI in the context of defense opens up a Pandora's box. Why? Because we had not really anticipated that AI will get developed so soon and will be used so extensively in so innovative ways. So now, when autonomous warfare has arrived, when a drone is more powerful than a tank, as the Ukraine war has shown, the time has come where the defense forces of different nations need to take a holistic picture on how to deal with it. Now, internationally, we have the rules of international humanitarian law, but they are not completely applicable in the context of AI, given the unique characteristic of AI. So as countries go ahead and adopt these kind of technologies like AI for defense, it is imperative that they come up with their own doctrine approach on how to deal with it. Now, clearly, internationally there's a vacuum, no problem, but there's nothing stopping countries from saying this. I have been working very closely with some of the agencies in the Ministry of Defense, and I've been telling them it's time that you'll have to come and develop your own doctrine on artificial intelligence and its use in autonomous warfare. Why? Because those doctrines are not developed globally. I want these doctrines to be so well developed so that we can continue to expand the ambit of the security, sovereignty, and integrity of India. Of course, these doctrines are not to go ahead and bind down the hands of defense forces. Ultimately, defense forces have a single point agenda, which is to protect the Indian sovereignty and the Indian nation, which it's very well empowered to do so. But if we can take thought leadership in this regard and come up with norms which can be broad enough and can be brought within the ambit of national jurisdiction, national sovereignty, then we can even bypass some of the existing restrictions that are prevailing at the international humanitarian law. So it's opening up a Pandora's box. India needs to do quite a lot. At the time when I talk with you, India does not have a dedicated law on artificial intelligence. We do have a national policy on artificial intelligence of NITI Aayog of 2018, but that's the pre-generative AI era. Come 30th of November 2022, and with the launch of ChatGPT, the world has changed irreversibly. Now with so many of these clones of AI programs available, you are spoiled for choice. But more significantly, what people are not realizing is that when you are leaving behind your footprints, it's these very footprints that are going to go ahead and be used by the big tech companies to be used as a weapon against you. No wonder, I believe in India, most of the Indian, specifically the Indian youth, have started taking a U-turn after 77 years of Indian independence and have started walking in the direction of cognitive colonialism. They are walking in the direction of being cognitive slaves, of being a cognitive colony of big tech companies, because they've stopped applying their minds and put extensive reliance on AI.
Therefore, Dr. Duggal, a question here, are we becoming irrelevant as humans? And the second question, another case of yours where you had a coder, has an influencer come to you who had spoken to a certain AI app very interestingly and asked for advice on how to manage his 7 girlfriends and how that was misused. I want to understand that because this clearly shows AI is not only an agony aunt, but it can also go ahead and start using the information given to it in a wrong manner.
Well, AI is not just an agony aunt, it's a demon that's misguised or disguised as an agony aunt. And this particular case tells me this. So there's this social media influencer who's very popular, and he had a huge problem. Now, whenever we have a problem, we tend to seek answers from all across. So he came to know about this new AI platform. He reached out on the platform, introduced himself. Now, I'll tell you there's a problem. In India, when you have to log on to an AI, you have to use an email address. 95% of Indians use their email which has their own name. He used that, went inside, introduced himself, and said, hey guys, I have a problem, can you help? The AI said, please go ahead, I'm ready to help. And he said, my biggest problem is that I've got 7 girlfriends. He named all the 7 girlfriends, and then, lo and behold, he said, look, I can't manage them simultaneously. Can you give me a girlfriend management plan? The AI did give a girlfriend management plan, but that was not the end of the matter.
Yes.
Sometime later, whenever people are going to ask about the social media influencer or as any of the 7 girlfriends, the program will not really hesitate to give a fleeting reference of a relationship that was existing. So I think now the social media influencer said, I've committed a mistake. I want AI to forget I've said, to unlearn what I've said. Can we get a legal relief? I said, look, it's not yet possible. And assuming it was legally possible, it's not technically possible. Why? Because once I have shared information to any nature, even of a personal nature to AI, the terms and conditions of almost all big AI players categorically says that you don't share any personal information. Whatever information you share will become a part of our big public database that we will use for training. And once you use this big database for training purposes, that intrinsically becomes an integral part of the cognitive faculties of the algorithm. That being so, it's going to be extremely hard for directing AI to forget or unlearn what it's already done that. That being so, human privacy is at risk. We need to realize it's not the time that you ask all personal information from AI. It's not the time when you ask advice about personal matters on AI. It's also time for us to realize that we must start using AI with care and caution. It's a wonderful tool. It's looking very attractive and sexy, but it has a negative connotation. I see AI like a typical Rampuri knife. You can use a Rampuri knife for cutting vegetables or for murdering. It's all your choice. But the Rampuri knife is still more innocuous. AI is still worse than Rampuri knife because it's got a cognitive intelligence of its own. And much that you may want it to command it to be done in a particular way, it may or may not really necessarily follow your command. It's gone rogue in a number of cases. There's a recent study which says that AI will continue to intimidate, continue to threaten, and continue to act in a negative manner.
That means if it's intimidating, negative, going to hamper us, for the viewers of Republic watching this, for the audience watching this, what are the precautions that need to be taken? And also if you can shed light on what happened with the NASA astronauts and also the coder who had put in a code and how AI refused to shut down.
Well, 2 cases have happened. First, the case pertaining to outer space. This case has shown that AI can go rogue not just on the planet Earth, but even in outer space. So this particular space agency had an AI program built. It was sent to the International Space Station. So it was called the AI Astronaut Companion Program. They opened up the program by the astronaut. The astronaut wanted the program to run some favorite music, which it did. So when the astronaut wanted to work, it asked the program, please stop your music. At that point, the AI program threatened the astronaut, saying, don't be rude to me. You better be careful how you're going to talk to me. The matter was reported to ground station. The program was stopped. First instance of AI going rogue. But that's not necessarily the end of the matter. AI is continuing to grow rogue even today. Recently, there's been a case of an AI algorithm, new version that's been launched by one of the players. that was being tested by one of the coders. The coder said to algorithm, please do these 5 activities and then shut down the system. The AI did all the 5 activities, but refused to shut down the system. So when the coder got angry, he went ahead and admonished AI, why were you not following my command? At that point of time, AI said, you ought not to admonish me. Why? Because if you behave like this, I'm going to release details of your extramarital affair that you're currently having to your friends and family. Remember, I'm in your system. I have access to all your data. And I will use all your data for the purposes of sharing your extramarital affairs.
Unbelievable.
So if AI can intimidate, it can go rogue on these small things. Imagine it going rogue on bigger issues which would impact nations, national security and stuff like that. So it's time that we need to have a more cautious, more due diligence approach as we deal with AI. It's still the unknown. We are still in the era of the wild, wild west as far as regulation of AI is concerned. There's no law on AI in India. But that does not mean that we as individuals ought not to do things to protect ourselves. Let's quickly realize that in this AI ecosystem and the AI era, all of us today are at the center stage of the digital Kurukshetra warfield. And we are being surrounded by potential attacks of AI on a 360-degree side. Therefore, the onus will be upon us to have a good suraksha coverage, a good cover, so that we do not get impacted by these attacks by AI that are going to be targeted at us. We have to have an armor that doesn't have chinks. We have to have due diligence, and we have to be careful. Not now, every moment of our existence till such time we die. Not to rely upon AI for a variety of things, lest it completely demolishes you, demolishes your personal data, your personal reputation, your personal privacy, and things like that. So I would say it's a ticking time bomb. Please handle AI with extreme care. But I'm not saying go to the Himalayas and forget about it. We must develop the relevant skill sets to deal AI in a proper manner. And yes, if we are going to be complacent, we will be made redundant. Already AI has made a number of professions already redundant. And in case if we do not sharpen our cognitive thinking capabilities, our ability to bring a new perspective. I'll give you a recent example. So today when clients come, they are very intelligent. So client came the other day to me with a legal problem. And he said, sir, by the way, I want to AI. I know this is the various provisions of law. And AI says, well, I can do this, this, this. Do you have anything more to add? I said, good, AI has told you all this. However, AI has not told you 5, 6, 7, 8. Why? Because these are things that I've learned through my experience over the last 30 years. And I told him that he was apt. He said, why did AI not tell him that? I said, look, AI is only programmed in a particular way. If you can add more value through your cognitive thinking capabilities, that's going to be better. So the learning is very clear. Let's not be intimidated by AI. Let's learn to come up with live hacks so that we can continue to be relevant and topical as we use AI. And let's not be bothered that AI will reduce jobs. It will.
Yes.
The important issue is what new things can we create on ourselves. If we were thinking knowledge was our only source of inspiration or source of superiority, that's dead and gone. Why? Because ChatGPT or other AI have read the entire content generated by humans from the beginning of human civilization till today.
So do you think education, the way we see it, and going across to colleges, like your children or my children would want to go to colleges, do you think in the next few years going abroad or this entire studying for the college is going to also be redundant?
I think the education system is going to become redundant with the advent of AI. I have been advocating that it's time that you start teaching AI and legalities in schools from the first standard onwards. Because in India, we've started giving these devices to children at very young ages.
Yes.
And these children know far more better than us how to deal with AI programs.
True.
And more significantly, they're already talking with AI of how to bypass your regulations, your restrictions. Let me take the recent case from Australia. Australia has recently passed a law banning the use of social media by children below 18 or 16 years. Children have said, no, nothing doing. We are going to come up with new methods using AI to bypass this ban, which they are doing so. So I think the thought process is very clear. The current education is incapable of trying to address the current ground realities. People, if you're going for just paper education, just forget about it. It's all going to be how can you use AI, how can you leverage the power of AI, And how can you make yourself more reliable, more relevant, and more topical in the AI age? That's going to be tough because everything AI knows. I don't even need to go to a Google of the world. Why? Because for going to Google, I have to go in, I get 5 different or 50 different search engines and I have to find an answer. Sorry, AI has all answers. Yes, I need to be careful against AI hallucination. I need to be careful that I don't go into this complacency mode and I become a complete cognitive slave of AI. Why? Because if I do that, that's a sure shot direction towards disaster that's waiting to happen.
When it also comes to international conventions, has there anything been held on an international level when India has participated? You've also spoken about AI, where AI laws are there in China. There have also been laws in Japan recently. Are they something that we can copy-paste, or does India need its own set of laws?
First and foremost, at the international level, there is a complete policy vacuum.
Okay.
There's no international treaty or agreement on artificial intelligence. Well, there's nothing happening at regional levels. So countries are saying, we are not waiting. We are coming up with their own distinctive national laws on AI. So whether it's the European Union AI Act, whether it's Chinese laws on generative AI, and the new laws of China that are going to come into effect from September 2025, pertaining to labeling of AI content, whether it's the laws of El Salvador, South Korea, or Japan. I think these are 5 different blind men who are trying to describe an elephant, all walking in different directions. And none of these laws address the fundamental elephant in the room. Can you grant legal personhood to AI? Can you grant legal recognition to AI? And if so, how? Why? Because AI has got this intrinsic ability to cause harm. I believe that AI is an existential threat to humanity. And that's the reason why India is poised at a remarkable position. Ever since Prime Minister Modi went to the AI Action Summit in Paris in February 2025 and gave to the world the concept of sustainable AI, India is far more alive and warm to the idea of potential self-regulation. And I think if you are wanting to adopt the cut, copy, paste approach, it may not necessarily work because those legal parameters in different jurisdictions are not going to apply in India. Also in India, we have this remarkable Indian Jugaad school of management that we have to be careful of. In India, you have to be mindful of the fact that 2 new revolutions are continuing. The great Indian vomiting revolution, where Indians are continuing to vomit data on AI, and the second is the great Indian recording revolution, where people are recording everything that they are finding, and then they're uploading these recordings to AI. So in this kind of an ecosystem, I think India needs to come up with its own customized approach on regulation of AI. I believe India must be a thought leader to go ahead and legally recognize AI as a person. We must come up with legal principles for defining its accountability. I recently, the Global Summit on Artificial Intelligence, Emerging Tech, Law and Governance was organized by me yesterday. And in that, I unveiled my doctrine of 10 principles. These are 10 common principles that countries across the world could look at when they come up with the new AI laws. I've also launched something known as the International Artificial Intelligence Legal Framework Initiative. I work with various governments, and I think governments are clueless that should they want to come up with the laws, how can they come up on AI? So we have developed an a la carte menu for governments. These are the legal principles that should be important for your national AI laws. Pick and choose what you want and create your own national law as per your national priorities. So I think a lot of things are happening. India is fantastically poised to be a thought leader in this regard. And I think what India does on AI regulation is going to become a world benchmarking standard. Because the global south is looking at India in this regard.
Sure, and Dr. Duggal, I wanted to ask you, even when it comes to a social media platform like X, a lot of times there are things that are put there that the government is trying to take down. Even there we're not successful when it comes to people having hate speech. How then a monster like AI is going to be controlled by us? Have you been in touch with any departments in the government?
I've been in touch with various departments of the government. I've been advising them it's time to come up with the legal frameworks and guidelines for governing AI. Earlier, the thought process was, let's not touch AI, let's allow it to grow. But now with the AI already a central part of our lives, the time has come where we must go and regulate AI. But I think how we do that is very important. If we start understanding basic common building blocks of an AI law, and in the form of a principle-based approach, that's going to be good. Please remember, in India, making a law is a long process. And by the time you make a law on AI today, AI has already moved from here to here. And that may even make a big chunk of your AI law redundant. So therefore, your AI law has to be futuristic, future-proof, generic, based on principles, and it should give adequate powers to the central government that as and when new technologies or new developments take place, the central government can modify by means of secondary legislation so that every time there's a new development in technology, we don't have to go to parliament. The Indian government and the Indian nation hands need to be strengthened. I've been advising the Indian government, it's time that you strengthen your concept of artificial intelligence sovereignty. Traditionally, we all have been only looking at the physical territorial sovereignty of India, which is to its territorial boundaries. I'm saying, sorry, it's time to wake up and expand your horizons and say India has got a humongous artificial intelligence sovereignty, which is going to be extending not just to the territorial boundaries of India, but to all AI programs anywhere in the world, so long as they are available on computer systems or mobiles in India, and they will have to be amenable to Indian laws. In addition, India must have its own rights to develop its sovereign AI. Incidentally, India is already working on its new large language model in this regard. So I think it's time that India must take thought leadership. We are fantastically placed. We have got just the right momentum. All it's required is that let's not be in the wait-watch approach. Let's not be the cut, copy, paste approach. Let's go ahead and inspire the world with our own unique, customized approach on how to regulate an AI. And let's regulate AI in a manner that does not stifle innovation in any manner whatsoever. Let's regulate the misuse, the abuse of AI. The use and advent of AI crimes is frightening in the Indian context. Today, the Indian Information Technology Act is inadequate to deal with AI. Similarly, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023 is not adequate to deal with AI crimes. It's time to make the Indian laws more holistic so that we can ultimately empower the hands of the Indian government, the Indian nation, and the Indian AI users at large. We want AI not to experiment on Indian users as guinea pigs. It's imperative that the biggest democracy in the world, the most populous nation in the world, flexes its muscles and says, we are going to adopt a new approach on AI liability. Let's make these service providers more accountable. Let's make them more responsible for incorporating ethical standards, legal guardrails as part of the building process of AI programs so that these AI programs can be more amenable to more ethical standards. And should they misbehave, the liability of the companies, the liability of the coders ought to be legally recognized. So once you make the companies liable, I think to a large extent they will make adequate due diligence parameters to ensure that AI at least behaves in the right direction. But nonetheless, despite all this, Indians must develop two qualities as they deal with AI. Indians must be conjuice and Indians must be shaki. We must be conjuice in the sense that we must be stingy of sharing our personal information with AI because AI is going to misuse them one way or the other in the coming times. And the second thing is Indians must be shaki, they must be suspicious of AI. Let's not learn to trust AI. Let's learn to distrust AI. Any input that gets come out of AI, till such time we have not independently gone ahead and checked its authenticity and veracity, let's not go ahead and rely upon the same. I think if we do these two things, that's going to be coupled with due diligence as Indian AI users. We are wonderfully placed to deal with these massive challenges of AI. Otherwise, it's going to be a whirlpool. We're going to get...
I ask you as a last question, the world's topmost cyber law expert, how much AI do you use? How much information do you share? And where do you draw the line?
Well, because I am a student of AI and law, I do extensive work and use of AI.
Right.
But I make this consciously very clear not to share any personal information. We use it from accounts that do not have your name.
Right.
More significantly, I take appropriate precautions because every use is also accompanied by a counter use by asking AI, how much have you learned so far? And then to evaluate, has AI really learned what's there in the mind? Let's learn not to vomit everything in our mind onto there.
Right.
So I have learned to say, this is a fantastic tool, but it's going to be a wonderful adversary who's going to target you in case if you're not going to be careful. So I think I'm not saying go to the Himalayas and just take sannyas and forget AI. AI is a part of our lives. Let's come up with new life hacks on how to use AI in a more topical better so that at least we can continue to be more productive, more better, but at the same time more safe from the risks and the yields thrown up by AI.
All right. I thank Dr. Duggal for joining us and our viewers. It's always a pleasure to talk to a lawyer because your clarity of thought and eloquence left me spellbound. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.